Hello and welcome to the Sacred Sexuality podcast. My name is Ileana and I will be your host. So, since this is the first episode that I am recording here for Sacred Sexuality, I thought I would give a little brief introduction to myself just so you know who I am. And I've been doing energy healing and Reiki here on the internet on and off for about 5 years now, and also practicing that in my own life in terms of shamanism and general energy work and really diving into what some consider the new age spiritual movement. I got interested when I was really young, what I consider young, like 18, 19 at the time, from a Christian upbringing, which I do not currently practice anymore. And it was there for me at a time where I really needed it. I went through what many consider a spiritual awakening, and it definitely put a perspective on things in my life. And since I went through that experience, I have been feeling like I'm receiving a lot of divine guidance, like I'm receiving a lot of knowledge or insight from the universe that I am meant to share with others. So this podcast specifically is going to focus all on our sexual energy, our sexual nature. And I do think that it is important to talk about it because even though it is getting more and more acceptable to talk about sex in our society, I don't think we are talking about it enough. Because always when we are talking about it, there's not even really a word. What is the word? We're perverting it. I would say has bad connotations. We are sexualizing it, sexualizing sex. That's funny. But we are always either talking about it as a negative or we are talking about it in, frankly, almost a pornographical way. And my goal with this podcast is to normalize sex. Not only to normalize sex in the way that in the sense that we don't feel guilt around it, that we accept it as a normal part of ourselves and of life, but also above that, exploring sex in a cosmic way, exploring sex in a spiritual way. So, on to this specific episode today, which is going to focus all on the basics. And what would the basics be? Sexual energy, baby. So today we're going to be talking about what is sexual energy, why is it important, and how can we use it to connect to the cosmos, connect to ourselves, and ultimately grow as a human being and be a better person. Yeah. So all very light and fluffy topics today. Okay, oopsies. So first off, let's start with sexual energy. What is it? Well, at its core, it's the energy from which we have all been born. It's the energy that created us, right? So it is the most primal, basic energy in existence. Now, our sexual energy is located when we look at the energetic body at the root chakra. Now, our root chakra is responsible for all our basic needs that have to do with our physical survival, of us being able to survive on this planet as human beings, right? Because as much as we are spiritual beings, we are physical beings. We are spiritual beings having this human experience. And what does the human body need? It needs food, it needs water, it needs rest, it needs money to survive, and also it needs reproduction. Now, isn't it a fun way to convince the humans to fool us into reproducing ourselves by having sex be a very pleasurable experience, right? That's happening in the sacral chakra, second chakra, experiencing the pleasure of sex. Now, as we go through, we can talk about sex in each of the chakras. That is a conversation for itself, because there is a certain alchemy that happens at each point in the energetic system as this energy is able to be raised upwards. Sorry, I should not move the mic around so much. See, I made notes so I don't blabber. I'm already blabbing. Okay, back to notes. Now, from a spiritual perspective, what is sexual energy? Sexual energy is the duality that lives inside of us. It's the feminine versus the masculine. Now, we have to remember that we all have feminine and masculine energy inside of ourselves. We just have one that is a bit more prominent. And when we look, for example, at the yin yang symbol, I know a lot of people in the West are like, ooh, good and evil, and the good cannot exist without the evil, and the evil cannot exist without the good. Yes, 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 but it is also a beautiful representation of the feminine masculine balance. There is no feminine without the masculine inside. There's no masculine without the feminine inside. So every person has both. And this does not, whether you are considered to be more feminine or masculine, this does not energetically have to do with the gender that you identify with or the sex that you were assigned at birth. You can be a man and have predominantly feminine energy, and you can be a woman and have predominantly masculine energy. But what is true is that we are oftentimes drawn sexually to people who have the opposing energy to us. Now, why is that? It is because when we have too much of the same energy, there is no duality anymore, there's no friction. And we are not able to grow and evolve without friction. Now let's start talking about the feminine energy, just that you get an idea, because I have been seeing stuff on YouTube, people talking about feminine energy, living in your feminine energy, and I've consumed quite a few of those videos. I know exactly what is being said. But that is a very societal view on femininity. And today I'm not going to be talking about societal. I'm going to talking about spiritual. I'm going to be talking about energetic energy. So what is the divine feminine? Let's get to know her, right? And I might say her, woman, all of these things. As I'm talking about the feminine, I'm not trying to exclude anyone. It's just, I guess, societal, cultural programming. Who knows? Tea break. Now, the divine feminine energy heals. It nourishes. It provides for the family, for the children. The feminine energy is a vessel for growth, the feminine body. She is able to grow life inside of her. And just as she can grow a human, she has the ability to birth new projects, new ideas, new creative explorations, endeavors onto this planet, into this life. So it is a very powerful energy. The masculine energy, although it helps to create life. It cannot birth life, physical life, into existence. And this is something that scares the masculine energy often. It tries to belittle the feminine energy, make it seem small and worthless. And why? Because it threatens the masculine. Someone who's not living in their divine masculine energy, whether that is a woman or a man, they will be threatened by someone expressing their femininity in a true way, because it's scary. There's nothing more powerful than divine feminine energy. Because the feminine energy, the woman, she receives and she alchemizes. She takes something and she turns it into a better version of that same thing. She can take a house and she can make a home. She can take a melody and she can make a dance. She takes the energy from the man and then she grows a baby. The feminine energy is never stagnant. It is always moving, growing, and evolving. And this feminine energy loves beauty. It loves a beautiful space. Or she loves storing herself in fabrics and perfumes and even makeup. Anything to make her feel more beautiful. Divine feminine loves to move her body in a way that expresses her creatively and beautifully. The divine feminine energy is all about emotions and feeling. How do these thoughts, these reactions, feel in the physical body? Where the feminine is about feeling, the masculine is about thinking. That's where the duality comes in. Emotions versus logic. She's in a constant state of motion. And we should not mistake her calm nature for weakness. Because water is one of the strongest forces in nature, slowly eroding rocks away over centuries. And in that way, it's even stronger than fire, because it's able to take this massive rock and grind it down into sand. Wow. And in that same way, women are a lot stronger than you expect. Just think about all the pain a woman has to go through, not only to give birth, but also to grow that baby inside of her body. Not only that, but women have been forced to burden the pain of guilt and shame for centuries. The responsibility of being the caretaker, of constantly putting her own needs second to that of others, whether for her partners or her children, or even her parents. Now let's talk about the masculine energy a bit. And just as I said earlier, where the feminine energy is water, the masculine energy is fire. It is the warmth of the sun that is needed to germinate the seeds in order for flowers to spring forth from the earth. I'm going to make it clear now, because I have seen a lot of this on the internet, and we're not going to be doing this over here. The villainization, of the masculine energy. One energy is not better than the other. They are simply two sides of the same coin. It is true that we are living in a masculine-dominated society. But these effects of the toxic masculinity is not only affecting women, it is also affecting men. So instead of villainizing this energy, Let's acknowledge the divine masculine that lives inside each of us. Let's get to know him. Let's understand him. And let's heal him. Now, the masculine energy values action and logic, what can be seen, felt, and experienced. So the focus of this energy is much more on the mundane or the material than the feminine, which connects us what can be. The masculine shows us what is. What practical steps can we take to change or improve a situation? So now that we have kind of an idea of masculine versus feminine, let's talk about what is sexual energy. So, sexual energy is the unification of the masculine and feminine, the energy that is born from this sacred connection. That is ultimately the goal of sex, right? Yes, there is pleasure, yes, there is fun, yes, there is exploration, but ultimately the sensory experiences are just there as a driving force for us to connect to sex on a more deeper level, right? It is there to make us interested in this phenomenon, right? And this phenomenon is completely sacred spiritual experience, and it can be used as such. Sex is the unification of these dual poles inside of us. It's unification of ourselves. Sex becomes a metaphorical expression of this deeper need of unification of ourselves. And when I say unification, I'm going to be saying it a lot. I mean the masculine and feminine poles inside of us connecting, becoming one, us accepting ourselves. Where do we end? Let's talk about that. Just as we are existing here in this human body on this planet, all of this life is a reflection on the macrocosm, right, of our spiritual, endless, infinite true selves. And when we ask, where do we end and our true nature begin? We are the universe experiencing ourselves. So that means that this life is just a small reflection of the whole, and a reflection of the lessons that we are yet to learn. That means that as much as this life is a playground for us to experience pleasure and heartbreak and all of these things, they can act as a tool for us to grow and learn and develop on a cosmic level. Because once we fully embrace all aspects of ourselves on a human level, a human that has the unique ability to feel emotions such as anger and guilt and shame, then we are fully able to embrace ourselves on a cosmic level. We are able to experience beautiful emotions such as happiness and love and excitement. And these emotions serve as a way to guide us to our true selves. Because just as happiness can show us what is a good thing to fill our time with, the people, the experiences, the activities, so can the negative emotions serve as the biggest guide Yet instead of embracing these negative emotions, we push them away. We banish them without analyzing or accepting them. And the thing is, we need to analyze. We need to know what they are, where they come from, and how they feel in the body. And then finally, we can learn to accept them. These negative emotions show us which people don't have our best intentions at heart, what relationships are toxic, friendships, family members, acquaintances. It is important that you don't ignore these feelings. Sometimes it's easier to ignore and push them down than to realize that in order to find true happiness, in order to become the person that we want to be, that we are meant to be, we might need to cut out these relationships or experiences. Might need to completely reorder and restructure our lives in a way that is inconvenient to us. When we are embodying our sexual energy, we are forced to confront all of the aspects of ourselves and all of these emotions. So just as human nature is a microcosm of our infinity, so is sex. During sex, we are having another person hold up a mirror to the parts of ourselves that we never or rarely see and rarely acknowledge, because we have been taught to hide, to bury these parts of ourselves, to bury these feelings, because we are scared that our true expression won't be accepted. And we all fear. We let this fear rule our lives. And something that we grow up with so much shame and guilt around is ultimately sex and our bodies. And let's talk about our bodies for a moment. Our bodies, which is a vessel for so much pleasure and beauty and joy, we are taught at a very young age as something shameful, right? We are taught to cover up, to hide. And as a child coming into your own, you don't understand yet. You don't understand why it's dirty or bad to touch yourself or to just be naked. There's nothing more natural than our own bodies, yet when's the last time that most of us have looked at ourselves naked for more than a few seconds getting out of the shower? Why are we ashamed of ourselves even when no one else is around? It's because we have ingrained this shame, this guilt to such a large extent that it's difficult to acknowledge who and what we are without this shame and guilt. So it is only natural that a part of us also fears sex. And why do we fear sex? It's because we fear ourselves. And during sex, these two poles unite. And it is the natural whole expression of ourselves. When the masculine and the feminine collide, it is us accepting, unifying every aspect of ourselves. And this is why sexual energy is ultimately the most powerful energy in existence. So powerful that can call in worlds. It can bring about life. And there's nothing more powerful than sexual energy. And that is why it's so important to master sexual energy, master your own sexual energy. And I'm not just talking here about some weird cult magic sex rituals like Aleister Crowley and the gang, but I'm talking about learning how to hold up that mirror and seeing the parts of ourselves that still need healing, putting in the time, putting in the work. And you will notice that as you go down this journey, there's gonna come up a lot of emotions and feelings around your own body, the bodies of others, your ability to experience pleasure, your ability to allow yourself to experience pleasure, especially for women, the prioritization of ourselves over others. That will be a big topic. Some of us, we do everything for everyone else, but what about us? Or other way around as well. Is your life all about me, 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 me? In sex, that will become very apparent because it's this exchange of energies. So sex becomes a way for us to explore all of the parts of ourselves that we still need to heal. And if you are interested in learning how you can use this energy for personal growth and for spiritual growth, to connecting to your divine true nature, then please give this podcast a follow. If you're listening, please give the channel a follow if you're watching. And please let me know what specific questions or topics that you would like me to discuss in the comments down below. And with that, I will see you probably next week. Bye bye.